Perfect. All right, there we go. So it is 5:05, and I'm going to be calling the third meeting of the ethics for the 104th Undergraduate Student Senate to order. And then we will start out with roll. I am present. Hussein Syed.
Here.
Thank you. Ani Bamu.
Here.
Thank you. Callum Baruch.
Present.
Thank you. Atharva Vespute.
Present.
Thank you. And Tanner Beatty. Tanner Beatty. All right. We do have quorum, so thank you everyone for being here at such short notice. And we will now move into our business. Is everyone able to access the meeting agendas? Would you like me to post that to the chat?
That would make it easier, probably.
Just checking. All right. Because I would pull it up, but I'm having to be like bouncing back and forth between reports that people sent me. So that will be kind of difficult for everyone. So I have just linked the agenda to the chat. I'm seeing people like are able to show up. If you can't access that, please let me know. Okay, so our first item of business is we are considering a leave of absence request for Samuel Hendricks. So in certain cases, like generally the ethics chair can usually just like unilaterally grant leave of absence requests. There's a couple like specific scenarios in which I can't, namely if they're just too long. So the way that these two following absence requests were phrased, it would be to the end of the semester. So they would pick up after the end of the semester, but because they did specify this semester, this has to come in front of the whole ethics committee. So we will just go through. I'll read, they're not here today, I do not believe, no. So I will read you what they wrote to me and asked me to say in front of the committee, and then we will just like basically deliberate, move into voting procedure. It's sort of like bills, we just don't have like an actual bill for it. It will just go in the minutes. All right, so our first leave of absence request is Samuel Hendricks. If you'll give me a second to pull that up. Okay. All right. So Sam Hendricks wanted to, I'm going to post the entire message in the chat, and I will also read it out loud. Okay. Hi, ethics. I appreciate you hearing my need for a leave of absence from the Senate this semester. I'm enrolled in an EMT course that meets every Tuesday and Thursday from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Because of this schedule, I'm unable to attend any Senate meetings this semester because I'm unable to skip class. I'm very dedicated to the Senate and I hope I prove through continuous work this summer and doing my best to stay up to date on current Senate issues and the happenings of our meetings. I hope you understand why I'm unable to make the current meetings due to my class not ending until December 4th, and I hope you will grant me this leave so I may return as a senator in the spring. Thank you and have a wonderful night. All right, are there any questions at this time?
Do we have a record of their attendance during the summer sessions that we can
yes, I can pull that up.
take a peek at?
This is all right, Sam Hendricks. So our summer session starting 12 or May, I guess. They were present for two of the 3 Senate meetings, and they were present for, I believe, 2 of the 3 committee meetings. Does that help?
Yeah, yeah, thanks.
Cool. Any other questions at this time? If not, we can move into discussion. All right, we are now in discussion. Does anyone have any items of discussion they would like to bring up? If not, we can move directly into voting procedure.
Sorry, were you talking to me? I spaced out, would you say?
Oh, sorry. We are just moving through discussion and the voting procedure on the matter of Sam Hendricks and his request for a leave of absence until the end of the semester.
I have a no say on this.
No, sorry, but thank you for being here anyway. And we'll get to yours. It's a little bit different, so sorry about that. But hopefully we should move through this pretty quickly and you won't have to sit here for too long.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. All right.
Regarding Senator Hendricks's situation, I guess it's slightly confusing that he didn't anticipate the fact that he would, have a commitment like this. However, I can also understand that sometimes unforeseen consequences come up, and given that he did at least show up to 2 of the 3 summer sessions, which I'd say demonstrates at least some order of commitment to the Senate. He's not just, not showing up to any meetings or kind of blowing off his responsibility. I personally think it's, I think it would be acceptable to, approve such a request.
Thank you.
I
I
have
will
2 quick
note.
questions.
Oh, yes, go ahead. Sorry.
First, do you know what subcommittees he's on, or did he never even get
He
assigned?
is on O&A.
Okay.
Which, yeah.
And then the second question I had was, has this been a case in the past where we've approved a leave of absence for an entire semester? Because I'm assuming he hasn't shown up to any meetings, this semester.
Not this
That
semester,
just
no.
seems like a very long period of time to not have shown up to everything, considering he signed up for a year-long commitment and he's just not able to come to half of it. That's just a very long time. So I'm wondering if there is precedence for this and how we've handled this in the past.
I can't speak to precedent because we never heard one of these cases when I was in ethics last year. However, the fact that it's in the code, I believe means that it has to have been heard at least once, right? Because I'm pretty sure, and don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it was originally just up to the ethics chair to approve any of all leave of absences. And then this became a problem when people were requesting, again, semester-long leave of absences. And that's why there's the provision to bring in the ethics committee. So I think that's the way that that's written. If not, I believe that at least speaks to some level of precedent of this at least happening before, given that there is a formal codified procedure for it. But in my specific experience, I've never seen any leave of absence requests.
Ani and Hussein, do you guys have thoughts on this? I'm really curious to see what you guys think.
Yeah, like Callie just said, from what I've known in the Senate in the past, it's mainly just up to the ethics chair. I said semester-long leave of absence is kind of odd, but at the same time, there's 2-3 meetings left in the semester anyway, so it's not like it's too much time off.
Yeah, just to echo that, to be honest, I completely understand the fact that this is a commitment that he signed up for. It's just, at the end of the day, we're all students, and these extenuating circumstances do come up. And Samuel did attend, and he did contribute to those meetings. I remember very, he contributed to the discussion and whatnot. So I think granting him, saying okay for this is not going to harm the Senate in any way, but I'm open to more ideas for sure.
Thank you. And then Hussein, actually, you've been here, you've been in ethics longer than I have. Have you seen a semester-long leave of absence request go through the ethics committee?
Not that I can recall. Most people who would leave for anything longer than I want to say 2 or 3 meetings usually would just resign.
Okay, thanks. Just curious if there was precedent there that I just am not aware of. All right, if anyone has any more items, we can continue discussion or we can move into voting procedure.
Do you need a motion to move into voting procedure?
No, I'm just making sure that no one has anything else before I continue. I don't want to cut anyone off. We can go ahead and move into voting procedure. Are there any motions at this time?
Motion to move into voting procedure.
Thank you. All right. Are there any motions regarding Samuel Hendricks's leave of absence request?
Motion to approve Senator Hendricks's leave of absence request for the rest of the semester.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Cool. That was not a unanimous consent measure. And I just want to get this on record. So we are now going to just do a roll call vote on accepting Samuel Hendricks's leave of absence request. If you vote yes, we will grant this request. If you vote no, you do not believe this request should be granted. So we'll go through the list. I vote yes. Hussein Syed.
Yes.
Cool. Sorry, I wrote it wrong. Give me just a second. Ani Bamu,
Yes.
Callan Baruch,
Yes.
Atharva Vespute.
Yes.
Thank you. And then Tanner, if you're here. Nope. Okay. All right. Thank you. So we have approved Sam Hendricks's leave of absence request. We're now moving into our second leave of absence request, which is Sam Dugan. He also provided me a short thing, which I will post to the chat and then read out loud. All right. He wrote, I'm hoping to take leave through the rest of the fall semester. I can resume Senate duties as early as this winter break. I currently am enrolled in a course, PHYA, I do not know what it stands for, sorry, 227, which meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. So I've been unable to attend both Senate meetings and committee meetings. Next semester, I have no class conflicts and will be able to resume full responsibilities. Are there any items, are there any questions for me? And then we can move into discussion.
I guess I again request if you can potentially find the attendance record for all meetings before this semester. Like I believe I remember seeing Sam or Senator
Sam
Dugan.
is in O&A. Sam attended two of the 3 Senate meetings over the summer. And none of the O&A meetings in my records.
So you said 2 of the 3 for the general and none of the O&A. How many O&A were there? 3?
There were, I actually misspoke earlier, there were 2 O&A meetings over the summer that I have.
Okay, so neither were attended.
Neither were attended. One was excused, one was unexcused, and then Senate, there were 2 attended out of the 3.
Was the Senate absence excused or unexcused? I didn't catch you. Sorry.
The Senate absence was excused.
Okay. Well, I would, apply the same reasoning we applied for Samuel Hendricks. I think there's only one unexcused absence, and like I remember seeing Sam at the meeting. So.
And I'm just going to go ahead and move us into discussion since I don't think anyone has any questions. So if anyone has any items of discussion. Yes. Cal.
I was a stretch, but I also
Oh,
actually
cool.
I do have. I don't know, I think it's a very similar request to Senator Hendricks's. Evidently, right? He has class this semester. I will say not attending any of the O&A meetings during the summer is a little bit iffy, but at the same time, one of them was excused. The other one wasn't, which is a little bit strange, but yeah, I guess I'm just interested to hear other people's opinions on this matter before I kind of consolidate my own.
Anyone else speak to this? If anyone's in O&A that can like speak to maybe his contributions during that committee?
Like I am in O&A.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I have absolutely no recollection of if Senator Hendrick or Senator Dugan was there during the summer. I also was absent from from one of the O&A meetings during the summer due to being abroad and not being able to meet at 3 a.m. So there's definitely a chance that I missed contributions that he might have made. Yeah, and evidently I've not seen him at all this semester.
He did have pretty regular attendance before the start of the summer session. So that might be the O&A meeting you're remembering seeing him at. Right. Ani, Hussein, Atharva, any points that you'd like to bring up?
I think it's still a little odd that not like neither of the O&A meetings were attended, but I think that things do come up. So once again, I'm in the same boat as I was last time of just approving it.
Okay. If there's no other items of discussion, I will go ahead and move us into voting procedure. Are there any motions at this time?
Motion to enter voting procedure.
Thank you. Do we have any motions now?
Motion to once again approve the leave of absence request for Senator Dugan.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right. We are going to. Okay. Approve. And so we're just going to go again through roll call voting procedure. So if you approve of granting this leave of absence, you'll vote yes. If you don't, you will vote no. So I've gone ahead and voted yes. Hussein Syed,
Yes.
Ani Bamu,
Yes.
Callan Baruch,
Yes.
Atharva Vespite.
Yes.
Thank you. And then Tanner Beatty, who is not here. Okay, cool. So we have also granted Sam's leave of absence request. Thank you all. Okay, we are now moving into our notices and announcements part of the meeting. Does anyone have any notices or announcements? Cool. My only notice and announcement is as soon as we adjourn this meeting, please don't leave. We are going to have another meeting. So the problem with investigative meetings is that they're separate from regular ethics meetings in which we can't hold them both at the same time. They require like a different procedure. So I'll walk you all through that procedure. No worries, just don't leave when we adjourn because we're gonna just jump immediately into our next meeting. Everyone good? Cool. Okay. Are there any other notices or announcements? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All right. This meeting has adjourned. And in just a second, I will call to order our first ethics investigative meeting. I'm just checking, David Bass, you're still here. You're ready to go?
Yes.
Cool, thank you. And then just to talk through this really quickly, because this is like a different thing than what we are used to. You can see this on the meeting agenda, but we're just going to go through, do call to order, roll call, same thing as normal. Then we're going to go through the reading of the formal complaint. So here is where I will just like read that first document. This is linked. If you want to follow that link, you can misspoke. You can all follow along. And then we'll go into a statement of the complainant. So that would just be like the document, statement of the accused, which would be you, David Bass. Then we'll do presentation of evidence witness on both sides. Then we'll do cross-examination. Then we'll have a final statement of both sides. And then we will do a recess for the deliberation of the ethics committee. This is where it gets a bit interesting and why generally I would have preferred to have done this in person. However, just like schedule wise, it did not work out. So for this, anyone who is not on ethics will be put in a breakout room and you'll just have to like stay there until we call you back. Basically, this is sort of like private deliberation of the jury. So we'll just like move you to a breakout room. We'll let you know, and then you'll come back in, and then we'll have like our motion, and let you know what we decide, and then we will adjourn. Are there any questions before we actually jump in the actual meeting? Right. Okay, seeing none, I will now call to order the first ethics investigative meeting. And we will now go through our roll call. Just a second, sorry. Okay, so I am here. Hussein Syed.
Here.
Thank you. Ani Bamu.
Here. Sorry.
Thank you. Kellen Baruch.
Present.
Present. Thank you. Atharva Vistute.
Present.
Thank you. And Tanner Beatty. Tanner Beatty. All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, is this a voting process on whether or not this investigation follows on, or how does this process work?
Okay, so right now we just did roll is all we did. And then this ethics investigation. So once an ethics investigation, like we have an actual complaint, it has to move forward. So this meeting that we're at currently is the like active ethics investigation. We'll go through all the documents, we'll go through everything. This should not take like, we should be done before Senate. That's what I'm aiming for. So basically what we'll do is we'll go through all the evidence, all the documents that we have, all the documents that we've been given. You'll get to present like what you think, anything that you think adds to like explain everything. And then we will like, and then the ethics committee will vote on what we think should happen. From there, whatever our recommendation is, will go in front of the Senate. So we'll either like basically vote to dismiss the case. We'll vote for like, there's certain things that we can vote for. Those are all in the code. And then the actual decision will be left up to Senate. Yes, if you have another question.
Yeah, thanks for explaining. But then I was wondering if everyone's going to be in a different meeting room and then I'm here to present my case. Is that not fair to me? Because then the people.
Okay. I'm sorry. So you'll be here like when you're presenting your case. The only time we're going to move both you and Speaker Phillips, who is here, is just when we're having like our deliberation. So that's like after all of the evidence has been presented, like everything, we've gone through all the steps. That's just like when the ethics committee decides like what we want to recommend. And this is a closed session. This is the only time Senate ever has a closed session. And that's when you won't be there. But we would like, you will still have like full opportunity to talk about anything like during the investigation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And just raise your hand if you have any more. This is a bit of a confusing process, so I'm trying to help everyone along. Thank you. Okay. So we are now going to move into the reading of the formal complaint. This is just the first, like that title page before we go into the appendix for anyone who is following along on the document. All right, in the Ethics Committee of the Undergraduate Senate, an ethics complaint against David Bass. Just a second. All right. Whereas Title 3, Chapter 4, Section 401C of the Undergraduate Code states A, qualifications for office. A candidate for office must meet the following requirements or else be determined ineligible to hold and or run for office. C, they shall be a constituent of the office for which they are candidates on the first day of the fall semester after the spring general election is held or at the time of running in a special election. Whereas Title 2, Chapter 2, Section 100A and B of the Undergraduate Code states A, members of the Undergraduate Senate are defined as A, duly elected senators representing a district of which they are a member, or B, be a member of the Senate staff. B, senators shall A, be elected in full compliance with the with the general election laws, B, be recorded in the Undergraduate Senate book after the credentials have been verified, and C, be voting members of the Senate. Whereas Chapter 2, Article 1, Section 5 of the Student Constitution states each representative as of the first day of classes of the fall semester following the spring general election shall be enrolled as a fee-paying student at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and belong to the district they were elected to represent. Whereas District 3 is defined as District 3. This district shall be called the School of Social Sciences District and shall represent all undergraduate students whose majors fall under the category of social sciences. Whereas District 4 is defined as District 4. This district shall be called the Keenan-Flagler Business School District and shall represent all undergraduate students whose majors fall under the category of business. Whereas as of fall 2021, economics is categorized as a part of District 3, whereas David Bass is an economics major, whereas David Bass is elected and is currently serving as a District 4 senator, whereas David Bass knowingly ran as a District 4 senator, whereas David Bass refused to step down from his role as a District 4 senator, whereas Title 2, Chapter 4, Section 413F states the power of the Ethics Committee shall include, but not limited to, the power to investigate A, any alleged violation of the ethics laws, B, any alleged violation of the student code or the standing rules by a senator or officer in the undergraduate senate, C, any alleged unprofessional or improper conduct by a senator, and any alleged violations of open meetings law. Whereas the Ethics Committee met on May 4th, 2022 and voted to begin an ethics investigation. Therefore, be it resolved by the Ethics Committee that A, David Bass is charged with malfeasance, and then evidence for this charge is attached in Appendix A. So this has been the reading of the formal complaints. We will now move into the statement of the complainants. In this case, it is the Ethics Committee as a whole, just because of the way this works. So normally normally whatever senator brought this complaint forward would speak here. But since this is a procedural matter, it will be, I'll just speak on behalf of the Ethics Committee. So basically, this was brought to our attention at the end of the semester last year. We found that David Bass ran in the wrong district, and there's just multiple documents that show this. And then going through, you can see that he should have been in one district and did not run in that district. Therefore, it's a matter for the Ethics Committee to investigate as outlined in the code. All right, and then there will be more detail with the evidence and witnesses. Statement of the accused, that's you, Senator Bass, if you'd like to speak. Just briefly sum up what's happening here.
Do I have a time limit or no?
No, up to you.
All right, well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. First off, this investigation is putting the wrong person at fault, and I'll tell you why. The application system for running for election is designed, intentional or not, to keep newcomers out and set them up for failure due to its lack of instruction and technicality traps such as these. The sign-up form only once briefly mentioned the code, yet the form did not include a single link or attachment to any code document, nor did any of the emails. The sign-up form only stated to please select your primary major. So I chose business with the intent of being a business major this semester, which I just signed up for. As you can, I have screenshots proving that I signed up for the pre-business at the start of the year, etc. So on that note, that's what I've been doing. And the intention was that I would be in business, but that's not my main argument. That's just the start of it. But either way, none of the emails nor forms ever explicitly stated that unless I'm not a business major at the start of the subsequent semester, I'm ineligible to run for District 4. Never once said that. That should have been made very clear, and it is the fault of the system, not me. The application process as a whole needs to be simple and contain the rules, because someone new to Senate, like me at the time, would not know what document to refer to when running, let alone a 144-page document. I mean, what do you even do with that if you don't know what's going on? On top of that, last meeting, Chair Gary himself literally proposed a bill to make the Senate election process more easy and accessible to the public, because people who join not only know the process from knowing people already in the Senate, it's just very difficult to understand. It's a very high barrier to entry, and it's not clear at all. And you all unanimously voted yes on this bill, as we remember from last meeting, right? If I'm not mistaken. You guys all clearly seem to agree with that premise. So what I'm saying here, it clearly states that this entire election process, we agree that it's unclear. And for me, I didn't know that a 144-page document called the student code even existed. It was just not clear at all. And the real issue, if we're genuine with our intentions of what we want to actually do, to solve the root problem of this is to add on top of Chair Gary's work of actually solving the core issue of making the whole election process more accessible, rather than trying to target me as a scapegoat for all this. I should be used as an example of how we can improve the system rather than trying to point fingers at me. Speaking of the code in itself, because I remember one of the arguments was that that we have to proceed with this because it's the duty of the code. Well, the duty of the code, I'm actually in full accordance with it. If following the code is what is really the issue of this, then why do we not consider the portion of the code that nullifies this entire investigation? As I have mentioned in the past, Section 104 arbitration, go look it up, states that if the Senate wishes to vote for my removal due to not meeting the qualification to be senator as defined in the student law, unquote, such a vote must occur, quote, before the seating of the senator-elect, unquote. But I already took the oath. I did everything. I performed actions as senator, such as voting on bills, co-signing, etc. So as of now, I'm fully in sync with the code, and that pretty much nullifies the entire foundation and basis of this entire investigation. So I understand. Also, one of the other arguments was that if I do this, and it's going to set a precedent for future senators to do the same. Actually, I firmly believe that it will not, because as I said before, the actual issue is addressed, then this will never happen again. So instead of impeaching and investigating me and taking up people's time, I just say that to avoid sending a precedent, just make the rules clear next time. And I think as ethics committee, I respect the work you guys do. I know you guys are very busy every day. And I think that in the interest of your time, this is not an issue that we should be continuing because it's not worth our time. I promise you that. The only precedent that will come out of this investigation, if it actually proceeds, is that it just shows that as a Senate, we're so caught up in these internal quarrels and out of proportion investigations with an angry, unproductive Senate that it's not a good look either way. And I think let's being real, let's just be real. This is not worth our time. Let's just move on. And I think that we can work together. If the underlying issue, I don't want to accuse anyone, but if the underlying issue is if I'm seen as a threat or if I'm seen as like a detriment to the Senate, well, I can promise you this, that if whatever bills you have, I will be in full support of whatever you guys want to do, as long as it's within reason, as long as it makes sense. And I'm a very much a team oriented person. I like to collaborate. I like to work with my colleagues, Chair Stevens, Baruch, Bamu, Vespude, everyone. I'm here to work with you. I'm your colleague, and I think that we can all do this respectfully and in a more productive manner. And I just think that just from a completely logical standpoint, I just don't think this is worth our time. And I just ask that we move on from this. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. All right. So unfortunately, we still have to go through the whole process. But so we will now move into presentation of evidence and witness of the complaint. So this evidence is attached in Appendix A of that document. That is linked in the meeting chat. So if everyone is able to access that, let me know if you're not at this point, because I'm not going to be reading all of this directly since I do not want to waste everyone's time, and this would take multiple hours. So basically, item 1 is David Bass's candidate registration form. The thing that I will bring your attention to is that it says, please select, under the undergraduate Senate candidate district, it says, please select your primary major. Note to undergraduate Senate candidates, if you have multiple majors, you may only run for Senate in one district. Please select the major and district in which you wish to run. And this is indicated as business administration. And then please select your district. If you're unsure of your district, you may look up which major belongs to which district here, District 4. And then under the policies and agreements, he affirmed that he completed the Board of Elections approved training mechanisms. He confirmed that he knew about the signatures that he had to obtain. He affirmed that he's responsible for election financial regulations. He affirmed that he's responsible for campaign rules, and he affirmed that all information provided in this form is correct to his knowledge. And he acknowledges that the provision of false information to the Board of Elections is a violation of election statutes, and such a violation may be cause for an honor court hearing. All right. Then item 2 is just like the email accompanying the ethics disclosure. If everyone remembers this, I sent out these like at the very beginning of the semester. I needed to get everyone's information. So this is just like the email that he sent me with his ethics disclosure and then my response to that. And then item 3 is the ethics disclosure itself. It was a PDF attachment to the item 2 emails. That's why it's included as 2 separate documents here. The first thing is I'll just bring your attention to is just the proof of district. I'm an economics major planning to apply to the Keenan Flagler Business School during my sophomore year. I provided with a screenshot, number 1, top showing the Connect Carolina status, and screenshot 2 showing the proof of my being a District 4 Business Keenan Flagler, which came from an email sent to an attachment by Sam Cathcart on February 14th, 2022. This email was the like registered candidates list. Item 4 is just when I clarify, it's a like collection of emails where I clarified that, where I asked if he ran in District 4 with an economics major, which should place him in District 3, and asked if he was an assured admit for Keenan Flagler. He said he was not. And then that he thought it'd be most appropriate to run as a District 4 senator because he's planning to switch to business this semester. All right. Item 5 is an internal email with leadership, where I sent out an email to leadership to get their opinions on what to do. This is like sort of when I realized that he ran in the incorrect district, and like mentioned that this would like trigger an ethics action. The only person that responded to this email thread was Chair Malodkar, who states that like the code is very strict about running in the right district. Although it seems like an honest mistake, we have to enforce the rules to set an example or precedent. Future senators may run in the wrong district on purpose, expecting us to be forgiving of the mistake if we let that stay. And if we don't let future senators who ran in the wrong district stay, it seems like we're employing favoritism. Her stance is that we're forced to remove him from Senate. And then I responded just like, thank you, and agreeing. And then I was meeting with Christian later that day. I did meet with Christian and we discussed this issue, although I do not have notes from that meeting, so that is not present in this complaint. Then we have item 6, which is an email from me to David requesting scheduling a meeting. This was not replied to. Another email regarding scheduling a meeting. This was not replied to. Sorry, that's item 7. Item 8 is when I sent an email to Senator Bass, just letting him know like the code sections, everything, to let him know that he ran in the wrong district, and requesting that he like either change his major, resign, or wait until the fall semester. So when I would have to start an ethics investigation. And then giving him the option to run again in the correct district in the fall, or apply for a position on the executive branch or in Senate staff. He responded that he was sick, which explains why he didn't respond to the previous emails. And section 104 arbitration states that for the Senate to vote for my removal due to not meeting the qualifications to be a senator as defined in student law, such a vote must occur before the seating of the senator-elect. In my situation, I had already taken the oath, voted during multiple meetings, and co-sponsored a bill, therefore undoubtedly notifying the required qualifications stated in Title 3, Chapter 4, Section 401C, Title 2, and Chapter 1, Section 100A and B of the Student Code, and Chapter 2, Article 1, Section 5 of the Student Constitution. Next semester, he plans on declaring a dual economics business major, and will be sure to run in the proper district for the subsequent election. And then this was also forwarded to Logan Grodsky, who is the undergraduate student body treasurer, and he just requested that he not be notified on internal Senate communications. Item 9 is, just a second, I'm sorry, I have to get through this first and then I'll call on you, I promise. Item 9 is a screenshot showing majors in District 3 and District 4. You can just scroll down and see, with economics with BA and BS being in District 3 and District 4 only having business administration. And then I'll go ahead and call on you, and then I have something else I need to bring up. So yes, David, your hand was up earlier.
Well, I have very good news to share. I just got accepted to the business school 10 minutes ago.
Hey, congrats.
So I think we're done here now.
I still have to go through this. Unfortunately, the way the code works, it gets triggered, and then we just have to like continue with the steps of the investigation. All right. The only other thing I have to add is that I know that like there has been a lot of like confusion regarding. This will not send to you all. That is bizarre. Okay. I'm going to forward this to. Sorry. Basically, I reached out to Treasurer Grodsky. I know there was some difficulty like figuring out when this should have happened, like whether or not it's the responsibility of this Senate or last Senate. So I just sent a copy of this letter to everyone that was in the email chain. But I will also read it out loud now. So I requested Senator Brodsky to like outline what happened last semester, since not everyone is aware of this. So this is dated, I also subpoenaed him. He was unable to attend this meeting. That's why we have a letter. All right. September 28th, 2022. Dear Chair Stevens and other members of the Ethics Committee, I've received the summons issued for my testimony on the matter of membership arbitration provisions of Title III of the Undergraduate Code and conversation related to them. Though I'm not able to be and appear before this committee tonight, please accept this statement as part of the relevant record in your current investigation. It details events that occurred prior to my service as treasurer when I was a member of the 103rd Undergraduate Senate, which is the last Senate. For context, the code has always in my time provided that the Senate serves as the arbitrator of its own elections, a standard like that of most legislative bodies in the United States. However, prior to the 104th Undergraduate Senate, this section of the code did not contain information as to whether the Senate could exercise this power before or after its transition of power, nor to its relationship with the other ethics/membership regulations of the code. The 103rd Senate passed legislation to expand the section and clarified that the Senate can exclude a senator-elect to the next Senate if that senator-elect does not meet the legal qualification to serve in the next Senate. This, however, did not enter effect until the beginning of the 104th Senate. During the period between the spring general election and transition of power, several senators, including the then chair of the Ethics Committee and myself, became aware that some number of senators-elect did not meet the qualifications to serve in the next Senate. Minding the then regulations, we voiced our intention to introduce resolutions excluding those senators-elect and declaring their seats vacant in the next term. After this, the then Speaker of the Senate communicated to us that she did not believe that these resolutions comported with the law and that she would rule them out of order. Under the law as it was written, Speaker Powell believed that it was only the current Senate which was authorized to act as arbitrator of its own elections, and that its provision only referred some election questions to the normal Senate ethics process. Therefore, she believed that only the 104th Undergraduate Senate could choose to exclude its own senators based on their lack of qualification. Indeed, we agreed to forego the resolutions as we had planned on the understanding that the next Senate would be sure to enforce the law via its ethics process. I hope that this has been helpful. It is important to understand that applying the current law ex post facto in this arrangement will create a legal loophole for any senator who did unlawfully come to be elected to the Undergraduate Senate. Very respectfully signed, Logan Grodsky. Are there any questions regarding that evidence and witness before we move on? All right, seeing none, David Bass, if you could present any evidence that I have missed, anything you would like to add, if you have any witnesses that you would like to bring up as well, we can also do that.
Well, I guess aside from just getting into the business school, which I'd be happy to send a letter for that. I don't know, I mean, I have like screenshots of me like from August, like signing up for like the pre-business major. If you guys want that, I could send them in the chat. You guys want that, or it's all right.
Go ahead, you can if you want. It would just make our record more complete, but it's up to you.
All right, I mean, I guess it doesn't really hurt. I'll just put it in.
It doesn't hurt at this point. Thank you.
Or can files send on Zoom?
If they cannot, you're copied on that email chain for ethics today. You can just go ahead and like reply all to that and it'll send to everyone.
Should I do it right now, or do I do
Up to you. We can add it in after the fact. If you want us to view it and like take it into account during this, like we'd need to have it now. But we can also just like take your word on it and then add it to the record afterwards.
Well, yeah, I'll just explain what it is. I mean, it's just pretty simple, but pretty much the first one is on Connect, Carolina. So like to apply for the business school, they make you like register for like pre-business first. So back in August, I like registered as pre-business. So I mean, the code doesn't really say specifically like the technicalities around that, but I was pre-business as of August, which is like the start of the year, which then fulfills like the code, I guess. I mean, if not, I still have like the other part of the code backing me up. But if that's the case, I have this piece of evidence. I will send that later. Also, yeah, so the dates on it are on there, August 22nd and August 21st. It's like at the start of the school year, basically. So that's that. And then, I don't know, I guess That's pretty much it. I got into the B school. It's always been my intention to be in the B school. And perhaps the charge of malfeasance doesn't accurately reflect that my intention was to run for a business district with the assumption that I would be in the business school in this semester. And now that I found out that I am in the business school this semester, I fulfilled that requirement. Plus, the code already states that regardless of all these technicalities, it doesn't matter in the first place because once the whole inauguration process starts, then these charges don't apply to me anymore. So I would say if this ethics charge, if this happened like before the whole inauguration, then I agree. You could have probably you probably could have actually gone through with like the whole process and like eventually impeach me. But I think unfortunately it's too late to remove me from Senate. So, and also now that I'm in business, that like further reinforces the argument. So I do apologize for my lack of understanding, but I think that also in part I don't apologize because I think that it's not that it's anyone's fault, but the current system needs to be improved, and I think that we seriously need to make improvements on accessibility to newcomers and explaining the rules. And as we all agree that it was not clear to start with, so that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Callan, just a quick question. Is this a question for?
This is a
Senator
question
Bass?
about the evidence presented by Senator Bass. Yes.
I believe that goes under cross-examination.
Okay, that's fair.
So you could, okay. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciated that. So we will now go into the cross-examination of the evidence and witnesses of the accused. So this is for anyone on ethics or Senator Bass. If you have any questions for me about like, if there's any gaps you think that I left like in my evidence that I presented, if there's anything you want me to go over, if there's any questions you have, anything that would just help like tease out what's happening here.
I mean, I was wondering, considering I can bring it up, but code 104, the code that I was referencing the entire time, it's
The arbitration section.
yeah, the arbitration
Yeah.
section. Do you guys have anything to say about that? Or
Yeah, so that's why I actually reached out to like I guess he's currently Treasurer Grodsky, but he was the senator in the 103rd. That's what that letter was referencing. So basically, during the 103rd, that section of the code was not there. It didn't come into effect until the beginning of the 104th, which is what we're in now. So there was a bit of fighting in the last Senate regarding like whose job it was, which Senate's job it was. Was it the 103rd Senate job to police the 104th, or should the 104th like figure out its own members? And so the Speaker of the 103rd Senate requested that this bill be passed, and it was. But basically, it created like this really weird like legal gray area for whether or not we apply the law like as it stands currently or as it stood. So that's like one of the main questions of why ethics is here is like, what do we do about that one specific case? If that makes sense.
yeah, that makes sense. I guess my follow-up then would be if it's like a legal gray area and we all seem to agree on that, then I guess what's like the underlying premise behind like what's like what motivates you guys to continuously pursue this? And why can't we just call it if it's like legally in an ambiguous area, considering that you know, we all have scarce amounts of time, and I already said myself, I'm willing to work with you guys, and I think we can get a lot done together. Like what's like the motivating factor that's persisting this whole thing?
Yeah, so basically it's because the code requires it. So like if a senator runs in the wrong district, if any senator ran in the wrong district, like if I ran in the wrong district, that would basically automatically prompt an ethics investigation. That's just sort of how the code is written and how it's set up. Once an ethics investigation starts, the ethics investigation must continue until ethics has sorry, I'm misspeaking, until ethics has recommended something to the Senate or dismissed it. So we just have to go through this process in the way that the code is written out, just because that's my job. So this like It's nothing to do with like specifics of the case, anything like that. It's more just to do with like technicalities in the code and how this process is laid out. And just we have to keep going until we hit the point that the code says we can either that we can stop. Yes, Senator Bamu.
Yes, so David's major in Connect Carolina was District 3, right, when he ran?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, good. So how did the District 4 votes count for him then? Because for me, you know, some people I didn't know who were in other districts voted for me, but their votes didn't count and their, you know, signatures didn't count on my ballot. So how did they count for David if his thing was District 3?
I'm not exactly sure. That would be the BOE. I believe that what happened is if you register, so like I'm in District 1, but if I registered as a District 2 senator and ran as a District 2 senator, then anyone who voted for me that was in District 2 would count because I was registered, right? But since I'm in District 1, anyone from District 2 that voted for me wouldn't count because it was in this mixed match across districts.
Right, okay, thank you.
Does that help? Okay. Yes, Senator Bass.
I was wondering, like, I guess to prevent this whole thing from happening, and why could the system just not have told me to run that as that in the first place? I feel like there's should have been some sort of like clear instruction or measure about that, because I feel like this whole thing could have been prevented. And also, aside from the fact that the instructions could be more clear, yeah, that's it.
That's programming on the BOE side. You might consider writing a resolution.
I should. If I'm still in Senate, then I can do that and you know, go ahead and pass that. So I think, you know, a lot of future opportunity there among each other.
Okay, seeing no further questions for me, we're now going to move into the cross-examination of the evidence and witnesses of the, oh, sorry, we should have done accused first. My apologies. We shouldn't have done my questions, but we'll just go ahead and if anyone has any questions for Senator Bass regarding his testimony and evidence, now would be a good time to ask.
Yeah, Senator Bass, I have one clarification question for your posed evidence. You said that you were pre-business as of August. Is that August 2022 or August 2021?
2022.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, just to clarify, I was not pre-business at the time of the application, if that's what you're wondering. I was not pre-business. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, does anyone have any other questions?
Also, I was not pre-business officially, but the intention was pre-business because I always knew I was going to run, but it's like I was kind of late on the whole academic advising thing. But yeah.
Thank you. All right, any more questions?
So,
yes, go ahead.
To clarify, nothing from the side of the Senate could help us document that you were wanting to be District 4 at the time when you ran. Is that correct? So
Well, I
we
mean,
would not have
sure, I can
ever
find
known
text
that.
messages of I've always clearly stated I wanted to run for business. I can find it in essays. I have tons of textual evidence. It's everywhere. Since like the dawn of time, I have evidence everywhere coming to UNC that I would want to apply to the Keenan Flounder School of Business. So I have plethora amounts of evidence.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, if there are any more questions, Senator Bamu had to step out. He has his physics studio. If there are any more questions, go ahead and raise your hand. If not, we'll move into the final statements. All right, seeing none, we are now moving into the final statements of the complainant. Speaking on behalf of the Ethics Committee and the Undergraduate Senate, it is very clear that David Bass ran in the incorrect district for our registration, and then has continued to serve illegally, and therefore, like, this ethics investigation is something that was necessary and something that we need to consider, specifically looking at whether or not ethics, whether or not this is the role of ethics in this case, and also just like given all of the data that we have. I don't think I can take questions. I'm sorry, but you can give your final statement.
All right. Well, my final statement is that I disagree with the usage of the term illegally. I would say I'm completely legitimate, considering that, as we mentioned before, this section arbitration, as we said, it's a legal gray matter. However, it was in effect by the time it was our year, and the other code that says that I have to be a business major at the start of the year, section arbitration is also at the start of the year. So if we're gonna pick and choose one or the other, either way, it ends up being to my benefit. Because if we're gonna say that, all right, well, if we're gonna enact that from the start of the year, then I'm a business major right now, and I was a business major, a pre-business from the start of the year. And then the other hand works in my favor too. So I think the term illegally needs to be dropped because it's factually incorrect, and I'm completely legitimate as a senator. I'm in accordance with the code. And I think at this point, we just drop that idea. It doesn't make any sense. And we move on with the idea that I'm fully legitimate as a senator. And that from now on, we change the instructions to make it more clear so this doesn't happen again instead of using me as a scapegoat. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. And thank you to both Senator Bass and Speaker Phillips for being here. We are now going to enter a recess so that the Ethics Committee can deliberate. I will open up if I can figure out how to do it. I will open up a breakout room and just assign anyone who is no longer here or who is not in ethics to join. You should be able to go hang out in the breakout room, and then we will let you know when to come back. Hopefully we shouldn't be too long. And if you have any questions, feel free to just type it in the chat. I should still be able to see it. Okay, just before
Question,
we start,
Kelly.
I'm going to pause the recording.
Okay, am I?
All right, I will now continue our recording as we have exited recess, and I will bring back in anyone who is currently waiting outside our breakout rooms. Okay, they have been given 60 seconds to join. Right. I believe everyone's in the room. Senator Bass, Speaker Phillips, are you here? Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so we have exited our recess and we have deliberated. I am now calling back to order the first Ethics Committee investigative meeting. And this is the ethics investigation or ethics complaint against David Bass. All right, at this time, I regret to inform you that the Ethics Committee has decided to recommend expulsion in the case of David Bass to the full Senate. The next steps are I will create a report. This will probably not go to Senate today since we have an hour. And instead, this will be recommended at the next Senate meeting where it will then be heard and it will be required to be voted on by 2/3 of Senate to recommend this action. Are there any questions at this time? If not, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Well, I just have one thing to say. Looking forward to having this going through the Senate, and I truly, from the bottom of my heart, apologize sincerely to absolutely nobody on this call. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Motion for adjournment if there are no further questions.
Second.
Thank you. We are now adjourned. I will pause the recording.